Hello, my name is Tom. I'm also known as Murphy Rhodes, as that's my stage name. I wanted to start a podcast, basically because I'm in quarantine, as we all are, locked down, and I'm bored, to be honest. This is gonna be a little bit about me, and is going to be heavily focused on AEW or Elite Wrestling. I've been watching AEW since it started, since before Dynamite, and talking about the one-off shows. There was All In, Double or Nothing, Fight Fest, and I've been a wrestling fan for, I don't know, I'm 28 now. Been a wrestling fan for 20 years or so, longer, maybe 22, 23 years. And obviously prior to AEW, I only ever watched WWE or WWF back in the day. Since AEW started, it's taken over. At first, I was really looking forward to the Wednesday night wars between AEW and NXT. And now I am an AEW mark. I pretty much only watch AEW now, so I will be discussing AEW on this podcast. I am alone. This is a solo podcast, so if that's not your jam, kindly be on thine merry way. A little bit about me first. I am, as you know, I'm Tom. I've done acting for about 22, 23 years. That's a strange coincidence. My stage name is Murphy Rhodes, so you may hear or see that I'm referred to as Murphy Rhodes online. I have my own film production company in Liverpool, where I'm from. If you couldn't already tell that from the accent, if you're from America, no, I'm not Scottish. If you're from anywhere else in England, no, I'm not a criminal. So yeah, Crossroads Films is a independent Liverpool-based film production company. We are all about community, diversity, equality, and innovation. I write, or have written so far, all but one of Crossroads Films project. The very first one, To Whom It May Concern, was not written by me, but I was acting in it. And since then we've done /Jobs, 2 seasons of that, which is a comedy mockumentary based around a job interview setting. That's on Amazon Prime. Cheap plug there. Once a Clown, which was set in a universe where clowns are an ethnic minority. That is on Amazon Prime as well, or on our YouTube, or on our website. There'll be links knocking about for those things. And we released a short film, filmed it in a day. Actually, we filmed it on February 29th this year, 2020, the year of doom. We filmed that in a day, an injection a day it's called, and it's about a patient who goes into a doctor's office with a cold and leaves with much, much more. So yeah, that's Crossroads Films. It's spelt Xrhodes. That might look like it's pronounced X Roads, but I assure you it's not. X Roads would be an ancient road system. Crossroads is supposed to be a play on the words roads, from my stage name, surname, and cross, because I thought it was brilliant. It's not, but it's the name. It's not to be confused with the Australian comedy. It's not comedy. Is it a comedy? Soap? Australian soap. There we go. Certainly not a funny one. What else about me? I like heavy metal, rock. Again, that's probably old WF and WE entrance themes influence, and also pay-per-views. They used a lot of great music. NXT still do. WE less so. I listen to everything though, really. I've got, as you can probably tell from my fast speech, I've got ADHD, which is sometimes absolutely brilliant and helpful, and is quite often an absolute hindrance and drives me insane. I do swear a fair bit. I've tried not to up to this point until the warning. I do swear a fair bit, so if you hear me swearing and don't like it, then just fuck off. My partner is 28 weeks pregnant tomorrow. I'm about to have my first child during lockdown, which is not how we planned it, but it's a fact, so we'll deal with it. We live in a small 1-bedroom flat in Liverpool city centre, in the business district. You may hear some construction work going on outside. Hopefully it's not too distracting, but it is there. It is ever present. I do a lot of accents. I jump in and out of accents all the time, so if I do your accent, I don't mean to offend you. If I do a Scottish accent and it comes out sounding Slovenian, then just assume it was supposed to be a Scottish Slovenian accent. I'm always doing 1,000 projects at once. So I've got this podcast. I'm writing a comedy series which I don't want to tell anybody about just yet. There's a very, very small select people who know about it, but I will probably tell you more about that as time goes on. I'm a Liverpool fan, so obviously for 30 years, I haven't even been alive for 30 years. 28 years of my life, I have been sad. And we're about to win the league this season, and then the plague appeared, which could only happen to Liverpool. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm a gamer. I play a lot of PlayStation, PC games as well. Yeah, I am shy. I am a bit insecure. So please be nice. If you've got nothing nice to say, this is in general. Actually, it's just good advice. If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it. You know. If you think the podcast's shit, fuck you. So, yes, let us discuss. So, I've just come off the back of watching AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. First of all, to talk about Jericho being on commentary is always a welcome addition to Dynamite. He is charismatic, brilliant. He's sort of, I think he kind of curried. I think he kind of I'm saying that again. I think he didn't curry anything. If he did, it's none of our business. I think he carried AEW's pre-existence on his back a little bit, which is obviously the aim, to get a name like Chris Jericho. But I think since he has given an opportunity to other people, things like, you know, the sections with Pineapple Pete, or Shug D, used to be known as Sugar Dunkerton, and I saw Sugar Dunkerton was his Twitter handle. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if that's his actual name. Could have done a bit of research on that, but research is for people who aren't me. So yeah, the stuff with Pineapple Pete and Jericho was great. It's just, you know, he could get a nun over who had nothing to do with wrestling by just harassing her in the street and letting her say words back. Although I can't imagine she'd be very violent or aggressive, but she'd still get over because she'd be in an angle with Chris Jericho. So Jericho on commentary was great. 4 commentators was a lot, but I don't feel like they stepped on each other's toes too much, which was pretty impressive, to be honest. First match of the night was FTR, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, formerly the Revival, most recently in the WWE, which was Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. They debuted last week, drove into the arena. Considering they drove in again this week, and the announcer said driving in from, I guess that's going to be a recurring thing. They just drive in, so make of that what you will. They faced the Butcher and the Blade. The Butcher, who I completely believe is the same character you play as in Disco Elysium on the PC, and the Blade, who can only be considered a BDSM enthusiast. So the Butcher, the Blade, and the Candlestick Maid, who is apparently not around anymore. The Bunny, Ali, she's off with QT Marshall. Interesting development. I don't know whether that means she's not with the Butcher and Blade anymore, or whether she is, but she's just, I don't know. Is she trying to get QT Marshall to join some sort of faction or something? I don't know. A lot of factions in AEW, isn't there? Obviously, Elite, Inner Circle, Death Triangle, packing the Lucha Brothers, who I miss. a lot. Can't wait till they're back. Yeah, so the Ali situation is strange. But anyway, FTR in their first match against the Butcher and Blade, which was basically set up because FTR saved the Young Bucks from them last week, and then Cash Wheeler threw a bottle at the Blade's head, which was brilliant. I noticed Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Jake the Snake Roberts were at ringside scouting them, obviously with Lance Archer, and separately, obviously not together. They haven't formed a new fucking Four Horsemen. Be a bit late. I'm not sure what to make of that. Obviously, this is a tag match, and I think Sean Spears was there as well, obviously because of Tully. I'm not sure what is going on there. This being a tag match, and Tully Blanchard obviously represents Sean Spears, who's a singles competitor. Jake the Snake Roberts represents Lance Archer, who's a singles competitor, and Arn Anderson is sort of aligned with Cody. So I'm not entirely sure what is in it for them to be scouting the match, but I guess that will hopefully be revealed in the coming weeks. So the match went on. It was a strong debut, I think, from FTR. They showed exactly what they can do and exactly what they've been held back from doing by WWE for so long. And the Butcher and the Blade looked great as well. There was some classic FTR shithousery in there with the Butcher and the Blade. One of them distracting the referee and FTR, and the other one beating him up and behind his back and that kind of thing, which was great. FTR won with the Goodnight Express, which was a lot better than WWE's Shatter Machine. Goodnight Express, obviously a nod to the Midnight Express. Young Bucks came out afterwards, thanked FTR for saving them against B&B, not Bed and Breakfast, Butcher and Blade, and congratulated them on the match. And then the tone changed a bit, and they said, we're the best tag team in the world, and we've been carrying the tag team division on our back for the last decade and a half. So it looks like they'll be leading to a match. I'm assuming it's going to be at Fyter Fest, which is brilliant. I think that's perfect for FTR. They look so happy to be there as well. They were smiling and just, they're coming in as, these angry, aggressive guys. No flips, just fists, and just mean guys. And you can see that they're just trying to hide these massive smiles because they're finally out on their own terms and with an absolute winner of a company. So yeah, it's really nice to see them happy. It was really depressing seeing them every week, and then on NWE and then reading their tweets about mostly subtly saying it's horrible being overlooked, really. And it's just great to see them, isn't it? B&B. I'm going to start calling them B&B now, Butcher and the Blade. So Bed and Breakfast jumped the Young Bucks mid conversation with FTR. FTR stepped in. That was a nice touch. I guess it comes from last week when they're saying they don't want to be attacking them and fighting them because, they were deemed to be weaker. They wanted to be on their terms, both teams fully fit so they can truly see who's the best tag team in the world. And FTR obviously don't want the Young Bucks weakened. I think AEW has this really good way of just being able to tell stories without making anyone look particularly weak. WWE has struggled with that for years. They can provide someone a debut, or they can bring someone up from NXT and put them on Raw or SmackDown and immediately just destroy them. Things like Aleister Black and Ricochet. I don't know if I assume Vince McMahon has a massive input in when Aleister Black comes up from NXT, just adding a creaking coffin sound to, they say show don't tell in film. And surely it's the same here, and show don't tell should have applied to Aleister Black's entrance in WWE, but it's like, we know it's a coffin, And Ricochet's pew 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 is yeah, we know he's fast, and yes, that is a Ricochet. Yeah, that's the sound a Ricochet makes, Vince. Well done. Don't need to put it in, but you want it in anyway. Great. I want it there. It's good shit. So you put it in. But AEW has this way of just not destroying people and making people look great, and it becomes difficult to know who's going to win. I think WWE pay-per-views become... This isn't just supposed to be me, destroying WWE in a podcast, but these are things that I love WWE. I do. I still do. I don't watch it as much. I probably will end up coming back to it at some point. I always do. I often have time off WWE when I start getting really annoyed, and then I come back, usually in time for the Royal Rumble, start watching it a bit, enjoying it, and then I start getting frustrated again. And I think one of the things that I get frustrated in is that WWE seem to destroy wrestlers in pay-per-views for WWE because they've not made both wrestlers look strong. You usually know who's going to win the match. I think it was a couple of pay-per-views ago. I'm not sure what it was, but there was the whole card I predicted in advance. Because it was easy to not because I'm an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert, but it was just so easy. I might have got one match wrong, but it's just so easy to predict. In AEW, I don't feel like it is as much. So yeah, FTR stepped in, stopped B&B from attacking the Young Bucks. Then 1,000 different tag teams came in for a brawl. Finished off by Omega, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page coming in as well. Hangman Adam Page with a glass of whiskey because he's a legend. And then it ends up with the Young Bucks, FTR, and Page and Omega staring each other out. So whether it's a tag team sort of triple threat at Fyter Fest, I don't know. That would be amazing as well. In fact, maybe I prefer that. But then it doesn't answer the question of whether FTR or the Young Bucks are better tag team. So I think we need to see a 2-on-2 tag match between those, and I think it'd be really cool to have a tag team triple threat between for the tag team championships between Omega, Page, FTR, and the Young Bucks. Yeah, so FTR strong debut all around. I really enjoyed the interview last week. I think AEW do something really good as well, where they cheekily dig at WWE every now and then with some of their content. With Tony Schiavone last week asking FTR what FTR stands for, and them answering the question and saying, "Oh, right now it means for the revolution." And Tony Schiavone getting bleeped out saying, I thought it meant fuck the revival. Which was great. And him getting bleeped out. I noticed Chris Jericho, mentioned it on commentary as well this week, saying, you said something last week that got bleeped out. You shouldn't be swearing like that on national TV. So that was excellent. Next matchup was Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. Versus the tag team of Penelope Ford and Nyla Rose. It was a very taggy show, this one, wasn't it? This Dynamite. I think we had 3 tag matches in a row. This being the second of them. This match actually was... I kind of got distracted doing something else during this match, and then my attention was brought back because it was really, really well put together. I thought all 4 women looked really strong in this. When AEW started after a few shows, I was thinking, the AEW women's division could use something. It could use work here, and I think because of feeling like that at the beginning, I've sort of underestimated the women in AEW. WWE do have a great women's division, and it's particularly NXT and obviously with Shayna Baszler, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Bayley. Not Nia Jax because she's a botch machine. I think I keep underestimating the women in AEW, and they keep surprising me, and I keep thinking, why am I surprised? You know, I should be seeing this. This has evolved in the last year that they've been on. The women's division has got better. I do also think, obviously, with the pandemic, there's been a lot of women out, so it's given a chance to Penelope Ford in particular. I thought she started looking brilliant. I didn't think much of her when I first saw her. I didn't think she was particularly, technically sound or a great wrestler, but over time, during this pandemic with the women's roster particularly seeming a lot more reduced, I think she's come into her own. I think they said on the show that she was 5. She's ranked number 5 now in the women's division, so that says a lot. Considering she came in and it sort of felt, this is me without any prior knowledge. She might have been fantastic on the indies. I don't know. I don't know much. I don't watch many indie products. And this is a sort of spontaneous first podcast, so I guess I'll do some more research on the next ones. But I don't know if she was amazing or what. But when she came in, I felt like she was sort of more of a manager type for Kip Sabian. But now she, I kind of rate them on the same level now, with Kip in the men's division and Penelope in the women's division. If not putting Penelope slightly higher in the women's division than I put Kip in the men's division. But yeah, all 4 women look great. I think Penelope is probably on her way to a title shot as a result of this match. I thought it was great when Hikaru Shida came out with the Women's Championship, and Nyla Rose sort of turned away in disgust. It was just it was really, really brief. The cameras just caught a glimpse of it, but it was the expression on Nyla's face I thought was excellent. They didn't go on about it. They didn't stand there staring at each other in anger, but Nyla just turned away in disgust, and it was a cool touch. Nyla Rose actually worked with her tag partner with this match. Usually when you put Nyla with a tag partner, she seems to just kind of ignore them and do her own thing, like she's in a singles match. But there was a lot of tagging, and it worked, and she was good in that setting. But she still felt more important, I think, than Chris Statlander and Penelope Ford. She still felt, even though she still, really was treating it as a tag match, she still felt more like a singles competitor. However, she did well in that setting. As I say, I think they all did. Really cool moment where Nyla Rose jumped off the top turnbuckle with Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander both bent over the top rope, and she hit them with the single flying knee, which looked sick. She got them both. Thought that was really cool. Penelope Ford, great match, back and forth. Penelope Ford finally pinned Shida with a fisherman's suplex, so she's actually pinned the women's champion there. So as I say, I feel like she's on her way to a championship match of Fyter Fest, probably. Fatal 4-way match would be also excellent. I don't know if they call it Fatal 4-way in AEW. I don't know if it's like a 4-way dance or something, but that would be excellent. I would happily tune into a Fatal 4-way match at Fyter Fest between those 4 women, who have basically single-handedly carried the women's division on the back through the pandemic. I know, Big Swole came in for the match, and I know there's been some women on AEW Dark. Big Swole, out of those, is probably the closest to breaking into the upper sort of echelons of the women's division, but I think those 4, Ford, Shida, Statlander and Rosa, are the main 4 women at the moment in AEW. Yeah, I was watching the show and I understand the beauty and the excellence and all that of tag team wrestling. You've only got to think back to Omega Page versus the Young Bucks at Revolution this year. But I thought 3 tag matches in a row was a bit much. Particularly, particularly this next one didn't feel great, and I found myself sort of a bit glazed over and doing other things when this was on. It was in a circle, so Santana Ortiz, or Proud and Powerful, and Jake Hager, formerly known as Jack Swagger, in WWE, versus the best friends Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta. I don't know if they call him Beretta now or just Trent. I don't know if that's a copyright thing or he's just decided to get rid of Beretta or what, but I keep seeing Trent rather than Trent Beretta. Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy. I do remember Trent Beretta in WWE very briefly years ago, and I remember thinking he looks really good, but he just disappeared. So it's good to see him doing well for himself. Orange Cassidy obviously was in this match. I am an Orange Cassidy super fan. I say super fan. You'd think I bought a t-shirt or something. I haven't. But if I was to buy a t-shirt, it would be an Orange Cassidy one. He could well be the face of AEW. The sort of dark horse face of AEW. I can't wait to just see. Every time he comes out, I'm happy. Oh, that section last week that basically set up this match of him just... Jericho saying, I want the baddest man on the planet, and Orange Cassidy just coming out and dodging all their attacks and then getting lifted like Jesus into the into the crowd by Trenton and Chucky T. It was phenomenal. He's just great. It's the most bizarre, unique gimmick in the entire world of wrestling, I think, and it's fantastic. So yeah, this match anyway, I kind of didn't pay too much attention to it. As much as I love Orange Cassidy, it was just one tag match too many, I think, for me. Although Jericho screaming in the background is always entertaining. Cassidy, all I noticed was Cassidy pinned Ortiz, which was great. I feel like they sort of... I don't think it's going to be long until Orange Cassidy's in a main event at a pay-per-view. His match against Pac was really good. I think that was Revolution as well. I feel like, I don't know if I could see Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley, but I would... Maybe I could see that. I think Jon Moxley would be really entertaining to watch in an angle with Orange Cassidy. Because while his aggression and anger and that have really come out in AEW, I still feel like Jon Moxley is very entertaining and like a fun character and can really play comedy really well. I know he did too much of that in WWE. I remember his podcast on Talk is Jericho, and he, it was over comedy. It was overkill on the comedy in WWE. I think there was a lot of bad decisions made for him, but his comedic timing and his comedy in general is still really good. So I could see a picture between Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy going really well. But I feel like Cassidy's on his way. It's strange, but he probably is starting to deserve a shot. I'd love to see him with the TNT Championship, I think, as well. I think that'd be amazing. I could see him and keeping the open challenge every week as well. With Orange Cassidy would be great. Jericho came down after the match and beat Orange Cassidy up with a bag of blood oranges. So he was bleeding and he's an orange, and they beat him up with blood oranges. You can't write it, but someone did. As Jericho took a bite out of a blood orange after it, and I kind of feel like he'd never tasted a blood orange before, because as soon as he bit it, I was thinking, that's not a normal orange. That's not Chris, not a normal orange, Chris. And he just sort of started spitting it out. I think he was trying to hold the I am aggressive and eating an orange, but also thinking this is fucking horrible. So he spat that all out, which was great. I could have done without it all leaking out of his face, though. That would have been nicer on the eyes, I think. Next match was Sammy Guevara versus Colt Cabana. Sammy and his Hit Me Up Mobile was fun. I don't know whether people are just going to start coming out in all sorts of vehicles now. Obviously, Britt Baker, DMD, has her Rolls Royce. She's the role model. And I think people are just adding signs to cars and shit now, and that's everyone's gimmick. It's fine. It was kind of fun. Sammy Guevara, when he started, I hated him. I hated his face. I hated everything he stood for. But now, he's really grown on me. You can probably hear a truck in the background. Yeah, let's just wait for that to go past. Clearly doesn't know I'm doing a podcast. Yeah. Cheers, mate. Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah, carry on. Yeah, cheers. Right, it's gone. But Sammy Guevara's really grown on me as a wrestler and as a character. He's a pain in the arse, but he's brilliant. I just keep seeing memes on the internet of different versions of Matt Hardy chasing him in a or a golf caddy or whatever. which is amazing. Colt Cabana came out and pushed the Hit Me Up mobile off the stage, which is just rude, to be honest. So, you know, less of that, mate. Calm down. I know you're angry because you keep losing, but, you know, there's no need to take it out on a scooter. Okay? Yeah, I sort of feel like Sammy Guevara's become a little victim these days, and even though he's a heel, I just feel sorry for him every episode. I'm kind of undecided how I feel about Colt Cabana. I know he was... I knew his name when he debuted. And again, this is someone who... I'm someone who's basically only watched WWE. I've watched a couple of, like, New Japan episodes and things like that. New Japan shows, but I suppose, yeah, I've mostly only really been a WWE fan. I have tried to watch indie promotions in the past. CZW, I remember. Combat Zone Wrestling, I watched a bit of that. That was pretty cool. I first saw Leo Rush on that show, actually, and thought he looked great. And, you know, so this is some of no prior knowledge. However, I did know Colt Cabana's name. I did Edinburgh Fringe Festival a few years ago. I was in a play there, 2016, I think it was, from Colt Cabana. One of the guys in the play that I was in was a big wrestling fan as well, or is a big wrestling fan. And he told me that Colt Cabana was going to be doing a live podcast from Edinburgh Fringe Festival, so I think they went to see it, and I went to see something else. I kind of wish I'd gone and seen the Colt Cabana thing now. But yeah, so his name was familiar to me, so when he came out, I thought, oh, wow, fuck, they've got Colt Cabana, that's sick. Like, every time a name comes out that I recognise, I'm like, yes, AEW, come on! But I'm sort of on the side that I feel about him. He's fun. I do kind of like what he does in the ring. It's a bit different, but you know, I don't know if he massively appeals to me yet. His character was like a face, but kind of a pain in the arse. Not a pain in the arse, but sort of, you know, arrogant, and I find it difficult to get behind an arrogant face. And he very much was an arrogant face. However, this Dark Order business, obviously Dark Order came out, I think it was last week, and said, you know, he lost his match, and Dark Order always come out when someone loses, and they're like, join the Dark Order. Brody Lee, by the way, fucking absolutely, Luke Harper. Brody Lee was one of my favourite wrestlers in the world. And I every time he came onto a WWE show, I was always like, yay! But they are going to not use him properly, and he's going to disappear again into obscurity. He often did. When I saw him come out as the Exalted One, the leader of the Dark Order, I mega popped, like, screaming. Maybe not screaming, I'm not a psychopath, you know. But yeah, I was very, very happy, and I still am very, very happy. There's so many debuts, though, that I wish had happened with a full audience there. You know, Brody Lee, Matt Hardy, FTR. You know, it's sad. It's really sad that these guys aren't getting to debut in front of an audience. I know, and Hardy and Brody Lee debuted on the same night. It would have been really cool, but not to be. It feels bad that they were denied of the pop that they should have received when coming out, but, you know. We're all popping at home, aren't we? Hey. So yeah, Sammy Guevara won. I kind of didn't really watch that much of this match either because I don't know. I was doing something else, I think. Not really an excuse, but I was watching it out and it looked like a good match. It was kind of what I expected, though. There was not really any surprises in this match. But Sammy Guevara won, which I'm glad about. I think he was on a 9-9 streak. I think like 9 wins and 9 losses. So, you know, he's got more wins than losses now, which is nice. Yeah, it wasn't anything special. I'm happy with the Sammy win. Dark Order came out to try and recruit Colt Cabana again. And he actually followed them down the same tunnel. Curious. Very curious. Yeah. Then Matt Hardy came out and said he respected Sammy in the space of about 18 different gimmicks, including his old SmackDown Matt Hardy V1 fact thing that came up on the screen, which is cheeky as shit, but is great, and yet another pop at WWE, and I am such a huge mark for these cheap pops, but it's great, isn't it? And yeah, so he told Sammy Guevara that he needs to get away from Chris Jericho, which is true, and Sammy didn't like to hear it, but I think maybe he'll start thinking about it, which is really, really nice. Really cool angle. Sammy Guevara comes across as a sort of young, impressionable young man now, who's hung around with the wrong crowds wherever he's been, and now he's got an older, respected figure telling him, giving him some advice, and it might be exactly what he needs. It's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out, but I'm all for it. Next up, I think it was next up. I know it happened, I just can't remember where. This felt like the right place, so I'm just going to put it here. But Jon Moxley had a few things to say to the interviewer. I can't even think of his name. How disrespectful and disgusting of me. Jon Moxley was just basically saying, I'm great. And Taz came over, said, enough of your shit. Shut your face. You're rubbish. He didn't say rubbish, but he was saying, the path of Cage, Brian Cage is gonna take him down. Now, if this next bit had been the WWE, Brian Cage would have come out of nowhere. He would have come from behind the camera to take Jon Moxley down. But instead, we got a 10-second shot of Brian Cage running from behind a truck at the end of the parking lot, if I remember rightly, towards Jon Moxley. Was facing sort of towards the camera, and it reminded me of like the Terminator or something. Just a good 10 seconds of being like, oh, John, and then John didn't hear me, and Brian Cage bulldozed him. And almost bulldozed Taz, but Taz is a legend and didn't let anything affect him. Brian Cage beat him up a little bit, and then Taz said, "Come on, you've left your message. Let's leave him alone." Brian Cage told him to fuck himself. He didn't. Metaphorically, he told him to fuck himself and picked Jon Moxley up and threw him at a car windscreen, which cracked nicely. And then they left, and it looked like Taz was telling Brian Cage off because, as we all know, large, muscular wrestlers are all children and need to be told what is right and what is wrong. Lars Sullivan. The final match of the night, the main event, was Cody in his weekly TNT Championship defense, and he was defending against Mark Quinn. Mark Quinn hasn't had a singles match in AEW yet before this. I thought it was excellent. I'm really glad to see somebody who's is just a tag wrestler, and not even he's not one of the top couple of tag teams. Him and Isaiah Cassidy in Private Party, and yet here he is with a TNT Championship in the main event, the next show. So I think this weekly challenge is really gonna give opportunities to lots of younger up and coming wrestlers and in AEW, and it's really, really cool to see. When they came out as well, I thought this main event was a great platform as well for really pushing AEW's message of inclusion. The Trevor Project was pushed before, I think, when Cody was on his way out, because he was wearing a t-shirt from the massively important Trevor Project, and Mark Quinn had a BLM armband on, obviously Black Lives Matter. I thought it was just really nice, just a really nice thing in the main event. Isaiah Cassidy came out, he had an armband on as well. Matt Hardy came out, they both came out to support Mark Quinn. So really nice, really cool, and Mark Quinn looked really, really good in this. I think he showed just how technically sound he was. He's not just flips. He was technically really quite good, and I thought this was a really strong match on the card, to be honest. He sort of I think he fake botched a move from the top rope, which injured his leg, which Cody obviously tried to capitalise on by pinning him, which he kicked out of. This was a nice way. I said to my girlfriend at the time, I said, I think this is a really nice way to show, to have Mark Quinn lose, but make him not look weak while they do it. Because he looks now like he lost because he lost, by the way. He looks now like he lost because he had an injured leg, rather than because Cody's better than him. Yet again, another example of AEW making their wrestlers look strong no matter what. So yeah, it was really, really, really good match. Jake Hager came out at the end. He obviously wants the title. He's going to get a shot at Fighter Fest. There was a big brawl at the end and all that in a circle and all that kind of thing. It looks like Jake Hager's getting a shot at the TNT Championship at Fighter Fest. So we can only assume that means Cody's going to keep the title every single week up until then. I think Cody deserves this title run. He is a major part of putting AEW together, and the fact that he's sort of written himself out of the heavyweight championship picture at this stage, unless he can get around it with a loophole, forever. He's literally written himself out of the heavyweight championship thing forever, which I think personally, I may be wrong, but I think personally is a really nice way of saying I've got a lot to do with this company, but I'm not going to try and be the main guy. So TNT Championship, it's an equivalent of sort of an Intercontinental Championship in what WWE would be, is a really, 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 really good way of pushing that title as well, because Cody is a top guy in that company. He's probably he's top 5 people in the company, and it's going to give a lot of worth to that title. The silver's actually growing on me on the title, but I know they couldn't get the gold colouring due to the pandemic. I don't know what they're going to do. I assume they're still going to carry on with the gold, but the silver's kind of growing on me weirdly. Tony Khan announced on Twitter that Fighter Fest is going to be free and is over 2 nights. I think it's the 1st and 2nd of July. I know one of them's the 1st of July. So we get a free pay-per-view, which with a company it's usually charging $50 to $60, or £40 or whatever, is fantastic, because obviously they make a lot of their money from pay-per-view buys, and I think it's great that they're giving this away free. A 2-night show as well. I personally think AEW Dynamite is almost pay-per-view quality, so it's a small chunk of pay-per-view every week anyway. So giving 2 nights away is a really, really strong move, and people who don't have a lot of money, especially with the current environment, people who've been furloughed and that kind of thing, are going to be able to watch AEW anyway because it's free. Kudos. I think that's really, really great. So that's been my first episode of my podcast. It was. How was it? How did you think it was? Some feedback would be great. I understand the technical quality isn't ideal. I'm recording on my phone at the moment, but obviously if this show was to take off, I'd invest in better equipment. Leave me some feedback if there's anything you want to hear next week, because I will start doing this weekly. If there's anyone you want to hear in the next show, you can get me on Twitter at the Murphy Rhodes, and give the podcast a like, subscribe, follow, whatever the hell people are doing these days. I don't know, psychic connection of some sort. Leave me a nice review. If you hate it, don't bother. What's the point? Stay safe, take care.